Time now for the exchange, and joining me from Washington is Maleki, Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies and a former senior U.S. Treasury official. Miad, it's good to have you on. There is talk now about a potential deal, an MOU, that's soon to be agreed to perhaps by both sides, but we've been here before, and in the meantime, we've continued to see escalatory strikes from both sides as well. The blockade, not sanctions, as we know, is actually what's choking Iran off at this point. If a narrow deal over the Strait of Hormuz includes reopening of shipping, does that not benefit Iran more than the U.S. would get ultimately, especially since the U.S. is just viewing this as part one of two parts of a deal?
Thanks for having me. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, when you look at the details of this memorandum of agreement, it's really agreeing to negotiate over the most critical aspects of the problems that the U.S. and the West has with Iran. So at this point, we're lifting our most important and most effective leverage that we have with Iran, the blockade. And I said this before. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz targeted Iran's own economy more than any other countries in the region and around the globe. So they also need the closure of the Strait of Hormuz to come to an end. They're not able to import. They're not able to export. They're having a dire economy, and the state of economy is extremely chaotic right now domestically. And as the internet has slowly come back on, we're seeing a much better picture of how bad their state of economy is. So by lifting the blockade and then agreeing to negotiate over the most critical and tricky aspects of our problems with Iran, with this regime, we're probably giving them a chance to go back to their playbook of dragging their feet, waiting out administrations, waiting out media attention to this issue, and then just engaging us in a long-term kind of set of negotiations. And it's very clear that it's also very difficult for them to come to a decision on these very important issues.
Miad, it was about 6 weeks ago that you told me Iran was 2 weeks away from being able to store its oil, with permanent damage to extraction and an inability to pay salaries without selling petroleum, petrochemicals, and metals, etc. That window has passed long now, and Iran is still fighting. It's still firing missiles. So looking back, did you underestimate Iran? Is it the shadow fleet? Is it the offshore storage? Or perhaps it's just the regime's tolerance to pain?
No, it's a mix of both. Now, the tolerance to pain and also the way that the blockade is being enforced. Listen, in a case of a real blockade, when the blockade was announced, a blockade similar to what we had in Venezuela, when you have no ships go in, no ships come out, meaning the oil is not being loaded on tankers, and there are no tankers that are leaving. In that case, Iran, the key here is, after threatening the international community for 47 years that they're going to close the Strait of Hormuz, they didn't think about that. They need to think about their own storage capacity, oil storage capacity. So they only have 13 days of oil storage capacity. Tanker, you can't really call it tanker in the storage. It's costly. You have to have crew on the ship. You have to run your systems. You have to refuel. But what happened with this blockade, the way that it was positioned outside the Strait of Hormuz, they kept buying themselves time with these empty tankers that they found, and they started loading. Some empty tankers ended up actually crossing the blockade and getting into Persian Gulf waters from the international waters. So they actually started buying time. But then right now where we see clear reports of they have significantly dropped their oil extraction already. Now, the oil industry and oil sector is very well controlled by the regime. It's fully controlled by the regime. So it's difficult to get actual accurate numbers of how many oil wells they might have shut in already, where they really stand as far as extraction level. I've seen numbers around 500 to 700 thousand barrels of oil daily extraction of oil that they had to drop. So that's pretty significant. And the domestic refining capacity has also dropped because of the strikes. So There I also see reports that Khark Island storage has been already full. You saw the Secretary of Treasury coming out today and confirming that the Khark Island, apparently the storage has reached the full capacity there. But that's more of a longer term issue they're going to have to deal with. The real problem they're going to have is the gasoline shortage, and also the really the foreign currency market domestically, that they're going to run out of foreign currency in the market. So they're sitting on an economic ticking bomb, and that's probably why they agreed to actually negotiate with the same countries that killed layers and layers of their political leaders.
So, given all of those constraints that Iran is facing, and we don't know the full details of what a potential MOU would look like, but from what we know thus far, would this help Iran? Would this provide them more of a lifeline if the president does agree to it?
Absolutely. I mean, if the blockade is lifted and they quickly go back to open up the Strait of Hormuz, which I think they will have to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Even if we don't have a deal, as soon as we lift the blockade, I think they're going to have to open up the Strait of Hormuz, because it's not about the U.S. and Israel. They need to reestablish their diplomatic relationship with their Gulf partners. They need to reestablish their relationship with South Koreans, with Indians, with the Chinese. And they're going to have to open up the Strait of Hormuz for the sake of their own economy. But yes, if there's no blockade, they can get oil out, they can get catalysts that they need for metals production, petrochemical production, gasoline production. If they can go back to importing the critical goods that they need, yes, it's going to give regime more time, as I said, to go back to their old and common playbook of really dragging us into negotiations that could go on for a while.
Yeah, but a new level of leverage that they've learned that they have is control over the Strait of Hormuz, which was always a hypothetical before this war 3 months ago, and now it's proven to be a reality and something that they continue to hold over the United States and the rest of the world, in essence. Miad Maleki, thank you so much. Good to see you. Appreciate the time.